Welcome to Business Legal Lifecycle TV, the live TV show all about the legal aspects of your business to help educate you on complex legal terms in an easy to understand manner, to help understand why you need to do certain things in your business from a legal point of view, and to help you develop a plan for the future. Our mission at Business Legal Lifecycle is to help empower all small to medium-sized businesses around the world to get access to legal advice so that they can help build their communities and make the world a better place. Did you know that any business owner is on average 7 months away from losing everything? That is the average time it takes from a successful business to fold when an aspect of their business is not set up correctly. Have you ever wanted to get legal advice but didn't understand what was going on? Do you feel like there is a divide between lawyers and their clients? Then this TV show is for you. It is all about empowering you and your business with the knowledge and tools to ensure that this doesn't happen to you. Business Legal Lifecycle TV delivers a twice-weekly show focusing on the legal aspects of your business. At lunchtime on Mondays, we present Fast Fix Monday, a quick 5 to 10 minute show that will give you some actionable steps to consider for the week for your business. And at lunchtime on Wednesdays, we present our in-depth show of between 30 minutes and an hour, where we go through complicated legal aspects of your business in a simple to understand, plain English manner. And whether that is through educational pieces or interviews with experts in their fields.
Afternoon everyone, and welcome to Business Legal Lifecycle TV. I am Craig Mason. I have with me Mr. Jeremy Stretton, one of the other founders of Business Legal Lifecycle.
How are you going, Craig? Hope everyone's having a great day.
Absolutely. So today is very exciting. It's our 100th show of Business Legal Lifecycle TV. So hopefully everyone who's joining us today has tuned in to all 100 shows. And if you have, then please comment, and we might be able to organise a prize for you if you've listened to all 100 shows. But today we wanted to do a bit of a recap of the phases that we've covered so far over the last 99 shows. It's pretty exciting that we've reached this stage, and we hope everyone's got a lot of information, a lot of important stuff out of what we've been sharing over the last 10 months. So the way it's going to work is I'm going to throw it over to Jeremy. He's going to explain a little bit more about today's show, but as I said, we're going to cover all the different phases that we've covered over the last 10 months. So Jeremy, do you want to touch on what we're doing today?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Craig. So we're calling this Not Another Clip Show, a bit of a play on the old Simpsons themes from when we were younger. But today we're going to play our favourite parts out of interviews with leaders in the fields that we've spoken to over the year. Peter Ducker, Natasha Hawker, Warwick Peters, Cynthia Deering, Jason Cook, Kevin Hockey and Hank de Jong. We're also going to play some of our favourite parts of our Fast Fix Monday episodes and ones that we think are most relevant to people in business. So we're going to play those. I'll give a short introduction, and then we'll then so you can see or listen to the ones that we see as relevant to you for each phase. So we're going to start off with a Fast Fix Monday episode, show number 27, all the way back right at the, almost at the beginning. And that was why you need a business coach.
So today we're just going to run through a couple of things about a business coach, why we think they're important, what they do, and those sorts of things. So Jeremy, do you want to kick off with talking a bit more about a business coach?
Yeah, no worries. Thanks everyone for joining us, whether you're watching it on the Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, or on listening to the podcast. So what we've found is you're no doubt great in your chosen profession. That's what, you go into business, you're really good at that, at doing what you do. But the problem is that you don't know what you don't know. And as Stephen Hawking said, the greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance, it is the illusion of knowledge. Now, what does that mean? Well, basically that means the biggest problem that we see with people is the fact that they think that they know things and they don't know to go and ask questions. That's one of the reasons you need a business coach. A business coach will help you to understand some of the parts of your business that you may not have known before. So you don't know what you don't know, so make sure that you have the people there to help you find out what you need to know in your business. The other reason to have it is that business is a lonely place. You're going to have decisions that you're going to have to make, and often, even if you've got business partners, you might find that some of the decisions you need to make, you still need to bounce them off someone else. So having a business coach is that third party to actually be able to bounce the ideas off so that you can get some great ideas. And that also falls into the last part, that I was going to talk about on this, which is brainstorming. So having someone to brainstorm ideas with, usually someone who's in a different profession or been in a different profession to you. It's amazing the different ideas that come from different sources that you can get. So that's why I think you need a business coach, that you don't know what you're doing and that you need to get advice from someone who does. So Craig, do you want to go into what they do?
Yeah, so I guess in terms of what they do, it depends on the business coach, obviously, but sort of generally they're going to be your guide through your business journey. So just like the Business Legal Lifecycle, which is a guidebook through business, your business coach will also be providing guidance in their area of speciality. So essentially they're going to be teaching you how to run your business. So if you're a carpenter, say, you're not going to necessarily have much knowledge about cash flow and projections and budgeting and those sorts of things. So they're going to help you in that. When you first start out as well in the conception phase, and if you've listened to our interview with Faye and Rob Coy, they spoke about mindset and clarity and getting those things sorted before you head off into business, so you know exactly you're in the right mindset, you've got clarity as to your goals, clarity as to what you want to achieve, and from that they can run you through your journey, but you've got to start at the beginning. They will be able to guide you through marketing and those sorts of things about whether it's web or traditional marketing, newspapers, whatever it might be. They'll be able to guide you through that process. And further what Jeremy said about brainstorming, they'll obviously help you in brainstorming for marketing or new ideas or new products or whatever it might be. Another thing that a business coach will probably do is, because they work in that field, they have connections throughout the business community, and they'll be able to give you the names or some details of some other consultants you might be able to use as well that they've worked with previously and had good results. So it's a good opportunity when you're talking to a business coach and you've engaged one to milk them for everything they've got, including all of their contacts and anyone else that they might have that you could use as your consultants to help you form the right team for your business. So I think that's pretty sort of high level generalization as to what they do. The different business coaches out there might do different things, but generally it's someone there, a third party, to guide you through your business journey. So Jeremy, anything else you wanted to add with what a business coach might do?
No, that's everything from my end. I think that's a good summary for everyone listening or watching this as to what business coaches do. So just to conclude today's Fast Fix Monday, probably the most important thing and probably the most important bit of advice that I can give anyone who does engage a business coach is to make sure that you do what you agree to do with them. So they're going to assign you certain tasks. They're going to give you certain learnings. You need to make sure that you're actually doing what you agree to do with them. If they ask you to do something that is too much for you to do, then don't agree to do it. If you're paying someone to give you advice and to help you through your journey, through your business, you need to make sure that you do what they do, and just paying them the money isn't actually going to get you any reward. So make sure that you take the advice and you do that. And the same can be said for a business mentor. You're using someone who's usually with a business mentor got experience in the business that you're operating. So you want to make sure that you're following what they do. There's no point in getting their advice if you don't do that. Well, I hope you enjoyed that replay of our Fast Fix Monday. That was show number 27. If you want to see that again or see the show notes, you can go to our page, businesslegallifecycle.com.au/027. Next up on the clip show is show 82. This was a really interesting one, and it's actually related to phase 1 of the Business Legal Lifecycle conception. And here is where I interviewed Peter Docker. Peter Docker is the author or co-author of Find Your Why, which is the follow-up to Simon Sinek's very successful Start With Why book. In this interview, we covered a range of topics, and I asked Peter the question about group whys and business whys and how to develop those. So I thought I'd play the answer to that question now. If you're interested in seeing more, go to businesslegallifecycle.com.au/082 for our 80-second show. Enjoy.
Well, there are a lot of businesses out there that don't have a why. And before we go any further, let's just define that term, because it is often misunderstood. So everybody knows what they do, the products and services. Some know how they do it. Their unique selling proposition, their intellectual property, what makes them different or special. But not everyone can put into words why it is they do what they do. And by why, and this is the important piece, we're using that word as a noun with a capital W. It is shorthand. It is shorthand for what's our cause, what's our just cause, what's our higher purpose, what's our belief, why do we get out of bed each day, which is distinct from the everyday use of the word why. So this is really important. It's what's your overarching purpose, your just cause. And I think when companies first start, when entrepreneurs first start a business, it is not the logical thing to do. The logical thing to do is to go and get a proper job with a salary and benefits. But people, thank heavens, do start new businesses. And they do so because they're passionate about their idea. And so quite often a business will reflect that entrepreneurs, the founders, why, their own higher purpose. And the business is just one of the what's that they do to bring it to life. But the benefit of that, and it goes beyond the feeling of the why, it's being able to put it into words. When you can put it into words, and by that I mean a single sentence, then it becomes actionable. And when it becomes actionable, you can then use it for everything from strategic decisions that you make to everyday decisions and the way you talk to people, to how you hire folks, because the goal is to hire people who believe what we believe, not just hire people who need a job, because when we hire people who believe what we believe, we have to manage them less, because we just need to lead them a little bit. And the value of being able to express your why is hugely powerful. Many businesses say to me, they want to stand out in the marketplace. Well, I say before you can stand out, you need to stand up for something. And being able to express your why is being able to express what you stand for in the business place, marketplace, in the world.
And so do you see that as a difference, that there should be a business why as well as the founder's why, or should they be intermingled together?
So for an organization, the why can come from one of two places. The first, if the founder is still active in the business, then what we often do is sit down and effectively do a why discovery with the founder. Because, you just a moment ago, Jeremy, you said that most business owners, they've sorted their own why. Well, I'd challenge that, because I would say that most business owners, founders, they know the feeling behind the why, but there's very few who've put it into an actionable form in words. But we would sit down with the founder to help them discover that and put that into words. And then the process is about spreading that throughout the company and having it make sense within the business that the company is engaged in. So that's the first way. The other way of doing it is when a business perhaps has been around for many years, and maybe there's been a merger, or the company has evolved, and maybe the founders are no longer involved in the business at all. In which case you do what we talk about in the book, which is a tribe-wide discovery, where we have about 25 people in the room who are passionate about the business, and we take them through a process to discover that why.
That really was one of my favorite episodes of BLL TV. Talking to Peter Drucker, who has just got some really great information. Really great guy as well. So if you're interested in finding out about that a bit more, as I said before, the show was number 82. So if you go to businesslegallifecycle.com.au/082, you'll find the show notes and the full YouTube video of that show. Or if you listen to the podcast, go back and check out show 82 on our Apple Podcasts, or however you're getting your podcasts. So the next show that we wanted to show was to do with phase 2 startup. And this was about structures, and in particular personal liability. And this is a bit of a passion of mine, where I want to make sure that people and business owners understand what they're getting themselves into from a legal point of view in their business. So this is an excerpt out of show number 3. So the quality wasn't the best back then, but we were learning as we were going. But check out this. This is about personal liability and why structures are so important. Enjoy. I think it's important to start at this point because it's important to understand what we're talking about. A lot of people in business, they don't realise that if they start their business under their own name, that they're personally liable for all of the debts of that business. A lot of them don't think about that. A business is not a separate legal entity. A business is the person who operates it, and that person is liable. So that's why the entity structure was set up. And what that means is that if you run a business in your own personal name and you have a house or other assets, cars, boats, and you get into trouble, they can be attacked. So running a business in your own name, we think is a pretty bad idea from a legal point of view. Sure, there can be some accounting reasons to do it, but from our personal point of view, running a company through yourself as a sole trader is pretty dangerous. You got any thoughts about that, Craig?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with everything you say, Jeremy, obviously. But the prime example is you're operating a business in your own name. And an example I can think of is where the business was supplying goods, building type materials, and they gave some advice about how to use a particular thing that it was relevant for what they needed it for. Turned out it wasn't, or at least allegedly wasn't, and they were then sued personally for the negligence of the advice that was provided. So their house is now available for the creditor to attack, or any other assets in their own name. So yeah, it's obviously important. If they had a company, they could hide, to a certain extent behind that company. So, or some other structure. So definitely, sole trader is something that we wouldn't, in the right circumstances, yeah. But there's plenty of other structures that would be a better way of doing it. So,
and I think that's the important thing, isn't it? That in the right circumstances, might be right. You may never have a problem. You might not have a problem for 30 years in business, but it's setting yourself up just in case something goes wrong, because you might have a downturn in the market. In your market, you might have a downturn, say that right, with your clients. You might have a personal downturn. You might get sick. A family member might get sick, and you can't operate your business. So you've got to think about always protecting your assets and setting up your structures. And there are great ways to do that, and that's what we're talking about today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that was personal liability, and that was part of show number 3. If you want to watch the full episode on structures for startups, because that's what that one was called, then I'd encourage you to go and check out businesslegallifecycle.com.au/003. So the next show that we thought we'd share actually comes to us from phase 3 of the Business Legal Lifecycle, which is initial clients. And this is a Fast Fix Monday that we recorded about debt recovery. Very important. So this is show number 43. You can check it out and the show notes at businesslegallifecycle.com.au/043. But here is that Fast Fix Monday. And as I say, we're going to talk about the importance of debt recovery. So I just wanted to start off with why we're talking about this now, because anyone who's familiar with the Business Legal Lifecycle might be aware that phase 10 is litigation and dispute resolution. We want to talk about the importance of debt recovery, though, in phase 3, because it's really important to get this right at the beginning of your business. And we'll go through 4 points that are really important. But the first point is, that when you start your business, you want to start out by collecting your debts early on, because you're going to need it. You need to make sure that you basically get the muscle right and get the muscle action properly. So that's why we're talking about it in December 2017 on our talk about phase 3 initial clients. And so we're going to go through, as I said, 4 points. That's the first one. Craig, the second one, do you want to go through that one?
Yeah, the second point is, and this seems like a pretty obvious one, but a lot of people talk about it, is cash is king in your business. Without cash, obviously you don't have any money to pay your debts. And if you can't pay your debts, then your business is in danger of being shut down. So you've got to get the cash in, and the best way of doing that is to make sure you've got an invoicing process, a credit policy, all those sorts of things in place, so you can get the cash flowing into your business. And hopefully from there you'll prosper. So second one, when we're talking about initial clients, is to making sure that you're getting the cash in, and you treat it to be one of the most important things in your business, of getting the cash in to make sure you survive. So that's number 2. Cash is king in any business.
Great. Number 3 is train your clients. So I said before that we put it in phase 3 so that you get your muscle right in what you're doing in your business. And that's what train your clients is all about. We need to be able to train our clients or our customers to make sure that they know when they've got to pay our bills. We don't want to get clients or customers in a habit of paying 30, 60, 90 days late if we can avoid it, because then you won't have the cash flow in your business. So doing the debt collection and debt recovery process early on in your business is key to making sure that you don't fall foul of basically letting your clients get away with not paying you for a long time. So make sure that you train your clients early on in your business. And if you're watching this and have been in business for many years, or if you've been throughout the business legal life cycle and you're in a different phase, this is often something that people need to revisit, because it's really important to make sure that you get right. So make sure you train your clients to pay your bills in a reasonable time or get paid up front, so that you're not constantly chasing them for payment. So that's number 3. Craig, number 4.
Yeah, number 4 is use a third party to help collect your debts. And there's a few reasons for doing that. One is obviously to free up your time. So, as part of any business, you need to outsource things that you can outsource. So you've got more time to be either on the tools or working on the particular business. So having a debt collection agency or someone involved for that is obviously going to free up your time rather than you doing it. One of the other reasons is making telephone calls about following up debts and those sorts of things, and you're the person that's actually doing the work. It can lead to a lot of emotion and disagreements with customers that haven't paid. So having someone else involved, the emotion sort of gets taken out of it. They can act like they're part of your business, but they're not involved in the day-to-day running, so it's not an emotional process for them. And we find that having a third party involved for collecting your debts, is a good thing, and you should collect, or hopefully collect, more than if you use the other processes. So pretty important to use a third party where you can, and that third party can also be involved if it goes any further past the process of following up invoices, etc. If it gets into another phase, which is dispute resolution or litigation, which Jeremy spoke about before, then you can continue to use that third party in that process as well. So we think it's pretty important to have a third party involved to collect those debts.
So that was our Fast Fix Monday, show number 43 on debt recovery. So if you're interested in seeing more about that, go to businesslegallifecycle.com.au/043. The next clip that I want to play brings us to phase 4, which is bringing on employees of the business legal lifecycle. We had lots of great interviews this month, but the one that we've picked for this show is from Natasha Hawker from Employee Matters. And I asked Natasha, what are the key things that someone needs to think about when they're looking at bringing on staff?
Yeah, I think the first 2 mistakes I see people make is they don't know when to hire. Generally, it's a gut instinct that it's time to hire, or the other thing that's happening is that the volume of mistakes is increasing because there's just not enough resources and they're spread too thin. Yep. And the second thing is they don't know what to hire or how to hire. And around the what, it's that they're not clear enough about what the role is, what the job description for that role is. And then the other part of that is they don't actually know how they all fit together. So when, for example, you've got a business of arguably say 10 and you lose 1 or 2 people, people then tend to just hire the same again. Yep. Rather than thinking about it from a strategic perspective. Do we have all the roles in the business that we actually need now? And are the roles designed, to get us the best possible outcome? And I think that's a really important one. And then the last error there is, they don't know how to go out and hire the best that they can actually afford. And then what typically happens is they get what is not going to be a good fit, and therefore then you're often having that not so nice conversation that when it hasn't worked out.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of comes into my next question, which is around alignment. And how important is it to make sure that your staff, when you hire them, are actually aligned to your business?
When you say alignment, you mean cultural fit, don't you, Jeremy?
I do mean cultural fit, yes.
Yeah. So alignment, I believe, is absolutely critical to success. And the reason for that is, and the example I often give is, when a CEO goes into a business and he exits really quickly.
Yep.
Usually the reason is not because they can't do their job, because there'll be a portion of them that can't at that level, but usually they've been weeded out. Often at that point, it's just the culture is so different, and they can't actually basically change the culture. It's like turning the Queen Mary around, and they're not able to do that. So for me, cultural fit is absolutely critical. You can teach people how to do the job if they've got the right skills and they've got the right attitude. That really, really helps. But, you can't teach your cultural fit. So it is absolutely fundamental to success. And there's some great ways that you can do that. But I think, I think you hire on fit and you teach skill.
Yeah. So that was a great response by Natasha to my question about bringing on employees and how to hire the right staff. If you're interested in more on that topic, then please go to businesslegallifecycle.com.au/089. That was our 89th show, not that long ago, only 11 before this one. Or if you're listening to the podcast, you can, again, find that through Apple Podcasts. So way back at the beginning in show number 16, I interviewed Warwick Peters from Ray White Commercial. Warwick, if you remember, is a business broker, and we were talking through phase 5 of the business legal lifecycle, which is protecting intellectual property. And Warwick and I were talking about that in the terms of a business sale. And I asked Warwick what some of the key ingredients to get a business ready for sale from an intellectual property point of view. And here's his answer.
Obviously, if everything is in order, we're going to maximise our price. If you came to the market, or came to me, for example, and said, I want to sell my business, just like I was talking earlier in the conversation, and didn't have everything in order, then we're going to be in a dilemma. We're not going to be able to maximise your price. So what I look for, though, in a perfect business to be sold at market is the accounts, a history of the accounts and everything in order, a compilation set of those accounts so we've got all the add backs put in by the accountant officially, not by me. We look for a documented job description or descriptions, depending on how many people are involved in the business, and a documented operations manual, so that if you were buying a business, for example, Jeremy, you could walk in, you could look at it and see what needs to be done. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, because once that owner goes, we've just lost that intellectual property, so to speak. They've walked out the door, so it's not documented. We also need to have security of location. So the lease that's in place needs to have sufficient time for the new owner to take up secure tenure at the location, or perhaps relocate to different premises down the track if you desire. So I would suggest a minimum of 6 years at that location, depending on what it is, maybe even longer, 9 running out to 15 years. And if it was a childcare centre, an extreme example there, they like 30-year leases. So if it was a 5-year lease and you were buying a childcare centre, it wouldn't sell. If you couldn't get the security on the childcare centre buyer, you wouldn't be able to buy those premises. You'd say, well, I haven't got security, so I'm not buying. So we'd have to negotiate that as part of the deal. So it depends. A car wash, for example, is another one. You wouldn't buy a leasehold car wash operation, not freehold, meaning all the premises are owned by the buyer. If you've got a leasehold, then if your lease was only 3 or 4 years left, they could kick you out, not renew it, and move on. So you need quite a few options in the background. So that's security of location, operations manuals, job descriptions, a great set of accounts. And the other thing too is that people discount. They think, I don't want my business anymore, it's not making money. Well, it needs to be profitable. But apart from that, it needs to have a future that's profitable.
Yep.
News agents are the perfect example. There are hundreds of news agencies on the market around Australia.
Yep. Why,
you would ask? We probably don't need to ask, but everyone knows. They don't make any bloody money. They're loyalty. So if you were buying a business and you're selling a business, I'd say, is it going to be a profitable concern moving forward? And are people going to be desiring that type of business? Is it a niche player? Is it a solid contributor in manufacturing? Or is it something that's dead, dying, and like the old emulsive film camera, It's not going to be done any longer. So they're all the factors to consider and that I look at and try and put together and work my magic to get the end result, make it attractive.
So that was Warwick Peters from Ray White talking about why you need what you need to put in place to sell a business. Warwick was very gracious. He's our only guest to be on twice. If you want to have a look at more of that show that we just played, that was 16. So if you go to businesslegallifecycle.com.au/016, you'll be able to see more from Warwick. And also he was also part of our show in show number 73, where we were talking more about business sales. And you can check more about that at businesslegallifecycle.com.au/073. So after phase 5, protecting IP, is maximizing your business, phase 6. And for this one, we've got show 51, which is all about why you need a shareholders agreement. So enjoy.
Afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Fast Fix Monday. We're still talking about phase 6, maximizing your business and bringing on investors. And today we just wanted to touch on shareholders agreements. So, that's going to be if you're bringing on an investor, for instance, or someone, a new shareholder as part of your maximizing the business or bringing on investors, then you need to have a shareholders agreement. So why do you need one? Well, a shareholders agreement is going to provide legal security for, the company. And you're regulating future situations and determining, the resolutions if there's disputes, those sorts of things, for problems that, aren't there now but might be down the road. So in essence, the shareholders agreement is going to answer a number of what-if questions. And Jeremy, do you want to go through those what-if questions about what you need to consider with the shareholders agreement? So what if?
Yeah, absolutely. So as Craig said, this is all about phase 6. So the what if questions, now these are things, and I think it's important to realize that in a shareholders agreement, and really any agreement where you're agreeing to stuff with a partner, is to remember that we're dealing and putting things in place for what happens if the parties can't agree or if there's a problem. So I'm going to go through 7 different what if scenarios and just talk about those in a little bit of detail. So the first one is what happens if the founder or the owners of the business leave, die, or become chronically ill. Now, in any business, if the owner of the business, whether it be the founder or an investor, does become sick, that can actually cause massive problems for the business because often they're the lifeblood of the business and they're the one who gets most of the work done. So you need to think about what happens if the person leaves, dies, or becomes chronically ill. And often what you can put in place there is a what we call a buy-sell option agreement, which we'll go through in more detail in a more in-depth show. But essentially you can have insurance policies in place that mean that an insurance policy is paid out if one of these things happens, or especially if they die or become ill, not so much if they leave. And that can actually pay for the debt because obviously if that happens, that can actually be a really poor time for the person and their family. So what happens if the next what if is what happens if the founder decides to start another project similar to your business. So if they leave and they start another business, you want to make sure that you're covering off on some sort of restrained trade so that they can't go opening another business in competition with yourselves. The third one is what happens if you need another partner. So when you're bringing in investors or you're starting a business, you need to think about, well, what happens if we need another partner in the business? And you need to have a procedure in place to cover off on what you need to do, what needs to happen if you're getting a new partner. So that's number 3. Number 4, what happens if a founder or investor is not dedicating enough time or finds another job that's more interesting to them? Let's face it, most founders and investors are the kind of people who get excited about new ideas. That's just the nature of them. So you need to properly define what their responsibilities are, and if they're going to leave, what actually happens in that case. So that's number 4. Number 5 is what happens if the founder or investor is not delivering on what they promise. That can be a really important one because what happens is if that either side is not doing what they need to do. So you need to properly define what people's roles and responsibilities are so that you can make sure that everyone's held accountable for what they need to do. The next one is what happens if there are disagreements among shareholders. This is really important because when you have an investor or when you have different people in business, it always starts really nice and everyone's happy. And that's the nature of business, and that's fine. But our job as lawyers is to protect people for what happens if something goes wrong. And you know, whilst you may not want to think about it at the time, you really need to do so. You need to have a procedure in place to break a deadlock. So that can be something from as simple as having a third party, a trusted third party, to be basically an arbiter to decide on disputes, as far as you're actually having a 2 or 3 page clause that goes through and says what needs to happen in the case of a dispute. I would recommend against those 2 or 3 page clauses in most cases, because they can actually be more trouble than they're worth. And the last one, number 7, is what happens if there is a deadlock after a vote. So often in a business, you might have 50-50 shareholders, or you might have multiple shareholders where a decision that needs to be reached is 75%. So you need to think about what happens if there's a deadlock in those votes. So that's a quick snapshot into why you need a shareholders agreement. Craig, did you want to add anything to that quick analysis?
Yeah, absolutely. As Jeremy said, the 7 what-if questions that we went through today, encourage everyone to think about those sorts of things. As always, sort of not documenting this sort of stuff will lead to, or potentially lead to, trouble down the road. So, it's a great attitude to have. It'll work itself out, but sometimes it doesn't. So it's good to have a document to help support that. So as part of the business, talk to your advisors about shareholders agreements. Make sure everyone's on the same page, as it were, or number of pages in the shareholders agreement. So pretty important to think about, particularly when you're bringing in an investor. So
that was show 51, and that was about what you need to have in a shareholders agreement and why you need it, probably more specifically. So if you want to check out more about that episode and see the show notes, you can go to businesslegallifecycle.com.au/051. So back in show 33, we were doing the topic of Phase 7 expansion. And we had the great pleasure of interviewing Cynthia Deeren from Deeren Associates, who is a consultant for international expansion. And I asked and had a discussion with Cynthia around the problems with business and how they multiply with expansion.
Yeah, I think that is a really great point. And I think people are often very reluctant to share because they think that it reflects badly on them, or somehow they failed because there's problem in business. And as you've said, they don't realise that problems either being had or that other people are having exactly the same problem at that same moment. So, if you can build trust amongst the people that you work with, that is a huge resource, because people can actually encourage each other. And sometimes I think that encouragement is one of the key things that keeps people going. So if I look back over my business journey, I would say that one of the most valuable resources that I have had is the people around me who've encouraged me to keep going.
Yep.
Now, sometimes it's things that they've transmitted to me in terms of skills or solutions to particular problems, but sometimes it was just the mere fact that they said, you can do it. I believe in you. Yep. I think you're on the right track. Keep going. Yep. And sometimes that's all you need to hear. Actually, keep you motivated for another couple of weeks until you can get through whatever that business problem is that you're facing.
So that was Cynthia Deeren talking about the problems with expanding your business and the problems that we commonly see that get multiplied. So that was show 33. So if you want to see the whole thing or check out the show notes, go to businesslegallifecycle.com.au/033. The next show phase that we're going to talk about today is show 63, phase 9, investing in property. We haven't done phase 8 yet for any eagle-eyed watchers who watch this on a regular basis, but phase 9 is investing in property, or investing in general. And so as part of this month, we got Jason Cook from WB Financial. Jason's a wealth of knowledge about all this information. And I asked Jason, before someone goes to see a financial planner, what kind of information should they have with them to make that appointment go smoothly?
Look, I think it's worthwhile giving some thought or having a conversation with your partner before you actually go and see somebody. So For me, like I have a lot of people who come in here and they've given no thought to what they actually want to get out of the conversation with us.
Okay.
So they will come in here and say, you know, property or shares, or what shares do I get, or, you know, how much can I borrow for a property? But my feeling on this, and you know, happy to be corrected, but I feel that the thing that people want is not a property. The thing that they want is what the property will produce for them.
Yes.
Okay, and that's different for everybody. So, you know, some people might want to go overseas every year, or send their kids and grandkids to, you know, expensive private schools, or some people might want to be financially independent or retire early. You know, there's a whole range of different things, but not many people want a share or a term deposit or a property or a bond. They want what that's going to do for them. And not many people actually give that thought. They just think about the shiny thing that they can buy and not what that will do for them. And really, that's what is important. And it's a, you know, similar to business. You know, you need to have an objective and a goal, because, you know, the thing you want out of business is not necessarily writing a contract for a sale or whatever. You know, you want the satisfaction and the financial success that produces over time.
Yep.
So just really think about what you want for your life before you go in there, rather than having somebody say, you know, having to try and prompt you on the spot and you think about that. So, you know, some pre-work and thought before you go and see someone, I think, is worthwhile. You know, have a good understanding on your current financial position.
Yeah.
If the person you're going to see hasn't asked you to put thought into that, do it yourself. Understand how much super you have. Understand what your cash flow position, what your budget is. You know, give some thought to that holiday you want to take next year, how much it's going to cost you. Does your car need upgrading? Do you need to do those renos on your house? Have a think about, you know, what you're earning and spending and what you're going to need to spend, so that you have it clear in your head of what you want out of this process.
Yep.
Again, it's quite difficult on the spot. If I'm prompting somebody or a couple on this stuff, then they've got to sort of quickly make up a list of things that is on their mind, whereas, you know, some pre-thought will fix that up.
So that was show number 63, Jason Cook, bringing in, investing in property. And Jason was talking there about, you know, what we actually need to do before we go and see a financial planner. That was show 63, as I said before. You can check out more if you want to check out the show notes, the workbook, or watch that video in full at businesslegallifecycle.com.au/063. So moving on, we're doing this video is in June 2018, which is phase 10, litigation dispute resolution. We're skipping over that as in our highlight show here, in our clip show. But we're going to move on to show 11. And throughout show that month, and so not show 11, show 71, which was in phase 11. And that was all about the sale or exit of a business. Now, as part of that, I had a very good friend of mine and mentor, Kevin Hockey, who runs real estate agency sales, come in to do an interview about, you know, what to do when selling a property. And we got chatting into a really interesting topic that, you know, I think is really important and really good for business owners to understand. And that is around the importance of sport and the lessons that sport teaches us business owners about what we need to do.
This is a great question. I've spoken at some seminars and things before, and I've actually talked about the correlation between sport and business. Yeah, I do love cricket. I'm cricket tragic, still playing at this ridiculous age, as I do many sports, and you know, we both love our footy.
That's right.
And I know how much you and Craig love the Manly Sea Eagles. And with
No.
But we certainly have a combination of our passion for the Broncos, essentially. So, all good. Look, I'm a firm believer that there's enormous correlations between sport and business. In sport and business, you're part of a team. Even if you're in an individual sport, each team still has a team around it. Whether you're a racing car driver, a tennis player, golfer. There's a team around you that you rely on. So whether that's coaches, managers, training partners, physios, and so on. So everyone within the team has a role to play. And if anyone falls short of that role, someone else has to pick up the slack or you lose. Mm-hmm. In sport and business, someone has to lead. Someone has to say, follow me. In sport and business, there needs to be structure, and everyone has to follow that process. You can't be in a rowboat and you're heading up the river and aiming for the finish line, and you've got the guys down the back saying, no, I think we should go this way, and the guys in the middle saying, no, I think we'll head off to the right over here. Yep. And it's just not going to work, is it? So everyone needs to be rowing in the same direction. There's a proven method to achieve success in sport and business, and everyone needs to be going the same way. I certainly know in my business we had monthly team meetings, and that was all about ensuring everyone understood the direction that we were looking to take. So I would even put up our P&Ls on the board and show them exactly where we were at. They all understood where we were, and I talked about what our plans were for the following month and the following 3 months, and just made sure we were all rowing that same direction. In sport or in business, you need to be able to create trust with the people that are around you. Creating the right environment that allows people to achieve their dreams is paramount in sport and in business. So I think those are just some of the key details as to why I think sport and business closely resemble each other. I read a book once, David Parkin, he's a 4-time AFL premiership coach. He was awarded this Australian Sports Medal in 2000 and a Medal of the Order of Australia in 2013. In 2002, he was inducted into the Australian Hall of Fame and the Sports Australian Hall of Fame in 2010. So highly credentialed. And he was at the Carlton Footy Club when he met the CEO at the time, who was Paul Burke. Mm-hmm. Now, Paul had been the CEO of Australian companies like Campbell's, Cadbury, Arnott's, and he was the CEO there of the Carlton Footy Club at the time. Together they wrote one of the best books I've ever read, and it was brilliant for me at that time. It's not an easy one to get a hold of, but if you can, it's well worth the read. It's called Perform or Else. Okay. It's a brilliant book which goes through how the worlds of sport and business can learn so much from each other. It was a brilliant read for me. I loved it, and if you can get your hands on it, highly recommend it.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that little excerpt from Kevin Hockey about sport and business. So we're coming towards the end of our first clip show, not another clip show. And the last phase that we're going to talk about today is phase 13 in insolvency and winding up. We're skipping over retirement. That's in July 2018, so we haven't got any shows on that as yet. If you want to watch any more about Kevin Hockey, please go to businesslifecycle.com.au/071. The final clip, as I said, is phase 13, and it's show 84, which you can check out at businesslifecycle.com.au/084, or check it out in how you get this podcast. This is an interview with Hank de Jong from De Jong Reed, and I asked Hank about the recent changes and statements by the ATO, so this is recent as in 2018 and 2017, relating to Phoenix activity and companies.
I certainly can, Jeremy. Phoenix activity's obviously been around for a long time, and ASIC and the ATO have never really identified what an illegal Phoenix transaction is, and that's made it very, very difficult. However, just recently, and as of last year, there was an announcement made by AFSA and by the ATO, and it identified basically 3 types of Phoenixes. And that is commercial necessity, problematic, and illegal. Now, this is the first time that really this has been brought to the surface, and it's terrific that it has done, because the ATO and ASIC have identified in that presentation that commercial necessity Phoenixes are quite okay, and that they are a requirement, and that they are something that is required, and if done properly, is quite okay. And by doing them properly, I mean that they have got a goodwill valuation, that they have got a plant and equipment valuation, that there is a sale contract transferring those assets, and that full consideration is paid by the purchasing entity. And if all of those things are done and done right, then that type of Phoenix activity is quite legal and is quite acceptable. When we talk about problematic and illegal Phoenix activity, therefore we're talking about that's where we get some issues. And with problematic, we're talking about situations where a company director might Phoenix or sell the assets a number of times over in a relatively short period of time, and that's clearly wrong, and understandably so. However, what ASIC and the ATO are firmly focused on are the illegal Phoenix activity, and that's clearly where a director is doing this constantly, and it's part of their business model. Now, we as a firm do not get involved in problematic or illegal Phoenix activity. We will certainly help a company director in relation to doing a legal business restructure. Where fair consideration is paid, and that's certainly not an issue for us as a firm.
Well, I hope you enjoyed all of that information collated down into a nice episode for you for our 100th show. It's been really exciting to bring you the information and the guests that we have over the last 10 months. And we really look forward to you joining us for the next 100 episodes. Craig, do you want to finish off?
Yeah, absolutely. As Jeremy said, we definitely look forward to the next 100 shows and beyond. If anyone's got any comments or any questions that they might have, then please get in contact with us through the various platforms, Facebook, etc. We're here and ready to help you. If you've got any questions or any comments or want some input into the show, etc. If you would like to get the show notes for show 100, please go to the Business Legal Lifecycle website, and it's /100, as in 100 shows. So please get the show notes there. And yeah, thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next time for Fast Fix Monday.
Thanks, everyone.